good afternoon and welcome to Nigeria Now on Equator Television, where we discuss some of the happenings in Nigeria, looking at various sectors and how they affect us directly. And then as well, we make sure that you join us via Facebook by dropping your comment, your views, as they are always welcome on the show. We can see how we can all put our heads together to give certain solutions to some of the things that we feel can actually help to make the country great. I am Sele Lashida Shop. I'll bring this program alongside Rachel Tanzik. Good afternoon.
Afternoon, Sally.
All right, we have quite a number on our plate, and we hope to discuss and trash them all before the end of the program. And we would love to start discussing with the alleged, talking about the alleged of the former governor of Kogi State in person of Yahya Bello. We will recall that in April, he was actually being charged with about 19 charges. And we're seeing that it has been dropped to about 16, and he is meant to be in court today to discuss the alleged 110 billion naira fraud. And I recall, Rachel, you will clearly remember the back and forth, and even the present governor of the state trying to protect him. And then there were several invitations coming from the EFCC, which somehow it looked like he was trying to dodge it. In fact, his name came out as one of the those who were not allowed to leave the country. We will remember that there was a circular going around the fact that he cannot leave the country until every other thing regarding him has been dropped. And we're seeing that he's due to be in court today. He was actually in court in the FCT Maitama precisely, where even though we saw that some of his followers and some of his faithfuls, quote unquote, were actually chanting, and then it kind of caused more like there was the rowdy section, and so the lawyer had to, the judge rather, had to step out, and then he actually make sure that there was order. But then, never to, let's not concentrate on the happening. Now we are looking at the charge on him. We will recall that one of which was some of the money he used from the conference of the government for school fees, which he came out and said that was not what happened, that actually the money he used was his. And we're saying that for the entire 19 charges, including the 110 billion naira, he's pleading not guilty to all of this. And we know that we've always seen situations like this, where I think you and I have actually touched this topic a bit. I think in one of our morning show, where we talked about the fact that, you know what, why don't we have the EFCC coming after certain government officials while in office? We always have them coming after, and I said they always have this immunity that protect them. So while in office, nobody comes after you. Governance should roll as usual. But then the moment you step down, and that's when we see the EFCC coming after you to ask you certain questions. Let's not forget, even that for Edo State already, we're seeing the present government as well have set up a committee to look into what happened while the governor, the former governor, was on seat. But then let's look at that of Yahya Bello, and then this whole 110 billion naira fraud charge against him.
Sally, first of all, I'd like to say really sad to see Nigerians protesting when there's an anti-graft war going on, a probe or whatsoever. It is pathetic. Is a structure, is a system, is a procedure, is an investigation. And as long as there is no proof that he has gotten away with certain money or he have embezzled funds, he's going to walk out as a free man. So when you are out there on the street protesting, you're literally saying we don't want good governance, we don't want a system that works, we want people to go scot-free with whatever they're doing, because without an investigation and a result will not come out at the end of the day. So there have to be that process for us to know what it is at the end of the day. Once there is suspicion, once you're arrested under a suspicion for anything, be it theft, be it murder, be it whatever kind of crimes we you have to undergo investigation. And when there are any facts, it's all about you coming out to say, well, no, I did not take money from the coffers to pay for my child's school fees. I did this, and there will be proof backing what you did. I did not take these funds, I did not mismanage, I did not. And in the end, he can walk a free man with these allegations being dropped, that of course there is no 110 billion naira fraud during his administration. So why are we saying such an investigation should not be done when you're out there protesting. Just because he's your favorite governor doesn't rule out the fact that he might have been a mischievous governor. It's sad to see Nigerians act that way. Whatsoever is the case, whatever you do believe about that, but you're not supposed to be out there protesting. Let the law take its course on how things should be done, and whoever is free should walk free at the end of the day. Now, that being said, I like the persistence from the persistence from the EFCC. You know, it almost looked like there's this show off from the governor, like he's untouchable. Like, of course the EFCC has nothing on him. It's he will refuse to show up, and then show up and walk to the EFCC headquarters, have a little charade or whatsoever, and then come back. And I mean, it's just some paparazzis left, right, center concerning this whole case. And now finally he's been arrested, and then we saw where the present governor of Kogi State, tried to protect him and all of that. What I like about this whole thing is, of course, the EFCC is supposed to persist and all of that, and the money that this probe started from have increased. It was there about 80 to 90 billion, and I believe that it's at the cost of investigation that more missing funds are being realized. And you know what, this man have taken more than 90 billion. We're looking at 110 billion naira here and all of that. But shouldn't that be the case for everybody? I mean, the EFCC not giving up and going after, regardless of how the person tries to protect himself as being protected. This shows us that, you know what, if we have an agency that want to do their job, they will do their job regardless of what the person involved. Now, the second part of which I believe I am never happy about it is the fact that people don't get probed or investigated. EFCC don't come after them in office. The simple reason is that we will not get back 110 billion naira. He might get bail. He might be given 100 million bail, 200, 300 million, and he might be able to pay it. Apart from that, it's not bail that is our concern. It's 110 billion that belong to the state and the people of Kogi, and they will not have that funds back. So why are we not having a process that makes sure nobody even gets the chance to walk away with such a huge amount of money? More than this that is happening, that is what I would love to see taking place when it comes to anti-graft war in Nigeria entirely, because we can give thumbs up and kudos for what is happening, but when you look at it, has something really been done? Because you know what, there's currently a governor right now embezzling funds, and we will not know until he leaves the office, and we cannot recover those funds, because if they said he used the money to pay for his child's tuition, I believe that child has done that academic session, and the school cannot refund it back to you. So it has been spent, the money has been spent. So will Nigerians get back the money that has been got? No. But imagine if at the process it was stopped or looked into, or questions and all of that were asked, fingers pointed, observations raised, and all of that. I believe it will really change things, most especially when it comes to money laundering in this country. I know it might look like, okay, how do we go about it? He's the state governor, he's in charge, no. The Nigerian government can sit down and amend certain things constitutionally. As long as there's no constitution guiding such checks and balance, people will go scot-free with a lot of criminal activities and all of that. More than any other thing happening, that will be the win for me when it comes to the future of anti-graft war.
You know, while you were talking, I was just wrapping my head, just like the question you asked, how do we go about it? Because looking at the fact that you'll be probing a sitting governor, you'll be probing a sitting senator or a minister, why don't see? And the question in my mind is, okay, we know that they don't have direct contact with all of these funds. So definitely the Attorney General or rather the accountant general
Yes.
precisely of the state, actually should also be questioned,
Sure.
because you are the person who actually dispersed that cash that was being used. So how comes we're only having the governor answering? Why are we not having the accountant general of the state also answering the same question?
Yeah.
And we saw that even when you look at this case, we saw that even his younger brother got involved in this. And then I just couldn't help but even link to that of Sirika, who recall his
Yes.
also his relative was also
family
involved.
members, his daughter and son-in-law.
Exactly.
concerning,
So
yeah.
you just cannot help but say that most time when we see issues of corruption and fraud or misappropriation of funds, we always have people getting their family members involved, and then we just have one person. Till date, we're having the former CBN governor still answering
custody,
certain
yeah.
questions regarding certain funds that belong to the country. And so I love the approach you take, the fact that why don't we have this agency coming after people sitting? There should be check and balance at every point in time. You are the executive. What happened to the legislature? You're not supposed to check and be sure that your governor is not actually spending money that doesn't belong to him. And this is where I said we have certain arms of government that seem to have forgotten their role. And so we have the executive sitting on them, playing the role of the legislative, playing the role of even the judiciary to the point in time, because we've had where lawyers are being bored, and so we have certain things that are supposed to actually go fair is actually going in favor. Why? Because we have either a sitting governor, and let's not forget, Rachel, this is the same person that was about to contest for the president of Nigeria.
Yes.
So what if, just an if, he actually eventually, got the ticket?
Yes.
That is to say, this whole case would have been under the carpet.
Of course.
And so this is where I need certain bodies to be open about, and this is where you always talk about certain people sitting or actually sleeping on their duties. Because if we have everybody open about the accountant general, making sure you check your books, be sure that nothing is going out when it's not actually needed. I mean, the right funds do the right things that need to be done. And no wonder we're still having the issue of the humanitarian affairs, where we had 2 ministers that actually did not use the funds. So we look forward to seeing something different this time around. Let's not always have public officers leaving office, and then that is when we want to probe them. Meanwhile, we cannot even recover all of our funds eventually. Now, we've seen that just yesterday, the CBN have actually raised our interest rate again. And it seems more like, when are we going to stop this whole thing of interest rate? And I remember we've had this conversation on what should be the priority of CBN. Is it looking at making sure that our Naira has value? Or is it on making sure that we have more of export rather than importing? Because we have to be looking at our rate at that point in time. Or are we going to be so interested on interest rate? And then, of course, just one answer alone is what CBN will tell you. The reason why we have to keep increasing it is because of the inflation rate. And so until we don't have inflation, which we know is not possible, we'll keep having them, trying to tighten the monetary policy and all of that. And I just cannot help but place a finger. When is this going to stop? Because, of course, we know the implication of this. Of course, CBN is saying it's just so that they can improve the economy. But let's not forget what it's going to mean for manufacturers. Let's not forget what it will mean to individuals as well. Directly or indirectly, everybody's going to be affected as a result of this. Let's not even talk about people who are actually running to banks for loan. And then I've said this a number of times, that most times the loans are not even for businesses. Most of these loans that people collect is so that they can fend for themselves and their families. So looking at this new interest rate, about 25% basic point, so you just cannot help but wonder, CBN, what is another way? What is another solution, rather than keep increasing our interest rate after every 2 months, twice a month? Regarding on how they feel there is a need to actually increase the interest rate, they will keep increasing it.
I think the Central Bank of Nigeria is just bent on a tight monetary policy, regardless. That's the aim, that's the drive, and they are being strong-headed about it at the moment. It doesn't matter what our inflation rate will be, or the exchange, or whatever is the reason. The CBN is bent on saying, you know what, we have chosen a tight monetary policy. We are going to continue to tighten our policy, and that is what we are going to stick to. even if it's not yielding results, because it is not yielding results. I can't recall exactly what month, but I think it's in the month of September where we had the headline inflation dropping. And still yet at the MPC, the MPR was increased. And then the question was, well, if Cardoso and the rest of the committee said, well, we keep increasing our interest rate because inflation keeps going high, then what happened to that month where headline inflation might not have significantly, but dropped a little bit? We could notice that, and it was all over the headlines of our news and all of that, that you know what, we have headline inflation going down as compared to now. There was a projection that perhaps it will go up, but we had 2 months where prices of things in the market, inflation was doing okay as compared to the previous months. However, for every MPC, we still had this committee increasing interest rate. It just says one thing: okay, we are bent on having a tight monetary policy, because it is not yielding anything. However, and we can be able to see that, you know what, throughout 2024, that have been the cause of action. As much as the base points increase this time around is not high, we're seeing just a 0.25% increase to the interest rate. It doesn't change the fact that it has been increased, no matter the amount of percentage. And we know what this will mean when it comes to dealing with the direct money deposit banks or the commercial banks where businesses have access to loan and all of that. We are going to look at a percentage that could be 5% higher than the official rate by the Central Bank of Nigeria. Since January, this has been the policy for the Central Bank of Nigeria, and then it have not stopped inflation from soaring as high as it wants to be. We are still having our currency depreciating as against the value of the dollar and every other thing. So what is the central bank trying to tell us? That, you know what, we have decided that this is what we are going to do, and it's because there are some things, we've said it a number of times, that don't have to take forever for
you
us
to
to
feel
see
its
the
impact.
results. Most especially something like that. We've had the whole economic year of 2024. We are in November. The market are closing in. If it was to yield any result, we had a lot of bearish season, and we should have been able to see some difference and all of that. Will the Central Bank of Nigeria brag and say, okay, well, we've had a stable currency? Yes, we can agree to that, as compared to how the Naira kept on falling from the first, second, down to the third quarter of the year. We have it differently in the last quarter, this fourth quarter of the year 2024. But the question is it as a result of the interest rate or other factors, be that the year is closing in, market is closing in, activities are not happening as they should be? These are all external factors, because if this had the capacity of making our currency do any better or every other thing, it would have. We'd have seen a result in the first quarter, the second quarter, the third quarter, and even now, but it's not yielding anything. So I think the central bank, in all of what I'm saying, I think that the central bank is just bent on sticking to its tight monetary policy, because so far so good, it's not yielding much. But they want to make it a long-term process, perhaps, to see if it can last over a year. We don't know what the idea is yet, but we are yet to see the results behind it. Perhaps we'll be optimistic for 2024 and 25.
Of course, because we can see even the NLC really are not happy about this. We will recall the last September monetary policy meeting that they had. We clearly remember manufacturers also complain about what it will mean for them, because the cost of financing their businesses is getting very high. And so how do we want people to cope when you keep increasing the interest rate? And then let's not forget, TUC are also trying to make a case as well regarding all of this. And just like you said, if this was going to make any impact, I mean, Nigeria should feel it. But let's not forget, yesterday we saw that CBN have actually generated quite.
They have.
They have, so possibly maybe with that they're able to generate what they need to generate for the economy. But I think that to a layman, what he or she understands is the fact that how am I directly affected, and how will this put food on my table eventually in all of this, because things tend to be getting difficult by the day. But just like you said, we are hopefully maybe this is a long term something for them, and we hope that maybe by the first quarter of 2025, according to them, maybe that is when we'll start feeling the impact, because it seems everybody is rooting on the first quarter of 2025.
Well,
so
I
guess we just, of course, I guess we just have to give it to them and then keep our fingers crossed, and let's see what the first quarter for 2025 will look like. Just like you said, the markets are closing, so there's nothing really much that can be done to change the reality of things. But let's just be optimistic and hopeful regarding all of this. Well, I guess that's how far we can go. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Seven.
All right. Thank you to our viewers, and as well to every other person who made this program a success. We look forward again to doing this together tomorrow. So please do have a lovely day ahead.